Hello there, I'm Leo Waldrop for Kit Guru and I'm fresh back from Computex. So what did I see and what did I think of the place? It was my first time in Taiwan and culturally it's a huge shock to the system. As you'd expect, it's equatorial, they speak Chinese and it's blooming hot. Putting that to one side, of course, it's also where a huge amount of the products that we see in the IT world are designed. And they're either made in Taiwan or made in mainland China. And there is a distinct divide between those products that are Chinese through and those products that are designed in Europe, either Apple in America or say Fractal Design or company like that, and then manufactured in China. You definitely see a divide. Let me give you a snapshot though of what a peculiar place Taiwan is to a European. If you go on the MRT, their tube system, their subway, it is completely clean, it's completely modern. Notices up everywhere. If you smoke, you'll be fined the equivalent of £250. Seems about right. On the other hand, if you eat or drink, you'll be fined up to £200. So smoke, thing that causes damage, yucky thing might cause a fire, hurts other people, bad. Eat an apple, £200 potentially. I have to say, Taipei is very clean indeed. I saw no litter whatsoever. So clearly something works there. As to whether it's in that regard a friendly place or not, that's a different story. But it certainly is eye-catching. The other thing I noted was mobile phones. Obviously they're everywhere. The thing is they're big phones. Chinese people are not particularly physically large. Every single one of them seems to be clutching a 6-inch tablet. Whether it's Samsung, Apple, HTC, Google or whatever, they are the big phones. These are phones that I personally don't like to use. I've got a 5-inch Google Nexus and to me that's a convenient size. These people who physically have slightly smaller hands than me, whacking great big thing. And the reason is because they're using them for everything. They're watching TV, they've got ubiquitous Wi-Fi and phone coverage. They're watching TV wherever they go, they're keeping up on Facebook, they're doing all this stuff, they've got a big screen. And I can see how it works for them, but it's really peculiar to see because I regard these supersized phones as the exception. Out there, it's the norm. It does make you wonder. So, Computex. It's a huge trade show, split over 2 sites. In fact, if you add in some extra bits and pieces, it's almost 3 sites. And I expected that Computex would be where lots of things were launched. Things that may have happened in April or may be held back to the first week of June. Things that could have happened in possibly July, maybe August, be pulled forward to Computex. Let's do Computex. And it simply wasn't like that. The only launch that kind of happened seemingly for Computex actually was NVIDIA launched GTX 980 Ti. They did that a day or two before Computex. And that it seems clear was actually a preemptive launch to get in there before AMD Fiji, which as of now hasn't yet been launched. It's happening in a few weeks' time. So in a sense, GTX 980 Ti was a response to a thing that hasn't yet happened, and that had knock-ons for pricing of Titan and such like. GTX 980 Ti, a blooming good graphics card. If you're looking for a gaming card, why wouldn't you? But the timing was a bit unusual. Other things that timing are things that haven't yet happened. So AMD Fiji hasn't yet happened. Windows 10 is coming and that will have DirectX 12 with it, and Microsoft was going on about Windows 10 endlessly. And if you have a Windows 7 or Windows 8.1 PC or laptop, you've doubtless now got the icon that says you can book your free upgrade to Windows 10. It's my assessment that Windows 10 is currently at about Rev 0.8 or 0.9. I don't think it's ready for launch at the moment. I certainly am not clicking that "I'll have my copy when it's ready" button, thank you very much. Not at all. As far as I'm concerned, it's got some work to do still. Whether you choose to go there or not, that's up to you. Intel Broadwell is still happening. We've had the low power processors, but we haven't yet had the desktop processors. And there's only going to be, as far as I'm aware, the 2 models of desktop processor, and yet Skylake, the hardware, is already around, and you'll have seen endless photos of motherboards on Kit Guru. So Broadwell is peculiar. It's like a fizzle. The idea that anyone's going to bother with an upgrade from Haswell to Broadwell on the desktop seems to me most unlikely. Skylake, it's almost here. What's going on there? I'm still not clear, frankly. Associated with so loads of Skylake motherboards are Computex, but no Skylake processors whatsoever. There was a rumor that we'd be able to see some, didn't happen. And the high-end Skylake boards support DDR4, the lower-end boards support DDR3. DDR4, it's a known quantity because of Intel Extreme Edition, so it's not like it's a new memory standard, it's just going to become wider. And then as pricing drops on DDR4, it's going to replace DDR3, sure as eggs. But it's lower voltage, bit higher clock rate, it works perfectly well. Fair enough, a few percent here, a few percent there. Can't really get excited about it. Worthwhile having, I'll take a percentage extra all the time, but DDR4, fair enough. Skylake, I want to see it. The fact that Broadwell has just not happened is really peculiar. Cases, saw cases from Thermaltake, Cooler Master, Inwin, Antec and Lian Li, and just before Computex I did the Fractal Design Define S, which I like a great deal. That review went up during Computex, and then we saw a couple of other little small form factor cases from Fractal. There were some funky cases there. Lian Li, as always, had some good stuff. Inwin had some funky glass and such like, and also that bonkers H-Tower thing, robotic doohickey, which is going to cost an absurd amount of money, and quite clearly is going to be, if you're building the most mental gaming PC ever, you'll pay heaps and heaps of money. I want to see that case. Completely insane, looking forward to that. Cooler Master, they've got a whole thing going on with their maker type. We're doing this thing where you'll be able to upgrade different panels of your case. That sounds interesting. That's, I think, going to come down to money. How much does it cost them to ship a top cover or a front panel or a drive bay or something? If you end up having to pay 25 and 30 pounds for things, then it's a nice idea. That's going to come down to practicalities, and so on and so forth. There was also this palaver about ripping off of case designs and such like, but I can't be bothered to go into that. It seems like a bit of a storm in a teacup to me. Liquid cooling and fans, loads of those around as ever. Nothing particularly new under the sun. The fans appear to be more cosmetic thing. Liquid coolers, I did see some new stuff from Deep Cool, but broadly speaking, liquid coolers be liquid coolers. The thing that was everywhere was USB 3.1, and particularly the Type-C connector, the one that's symmetrical, oval shaped, you can put either way up. That is clearly, in a sense, very dull, and in another sense, the sooner we dump these horrible asymmetric Type A's that we've currently got and move to Type-C, the absolute better. The sooner we have a kind of Type-C, a USB 3.1 and Thunderbolt 3 connector that does just everything. You just have some stuff, you plug it in, you have one port on your thing, you daisy chain devices off it and all the rest of it. If that happens, and happens soon, that's a good thing. At the moment, I think I saw on the back of some Gigabyte motherboards, I think I saw 4 different colours of USB port, depending whether it's 2 or 3, high power, 3.1, whatever. All getting a little bit silly, chaps. The sooner we move on to the next standard, and we also have front-mounted USB 3.1 Type-Cs, and phones adopt that standard and so on, then the better. The point of differentiation there I saw, particularly with Gigabyte, was Gigabyte saying, yeah, we're using Intel controllers for our USB, other people are using ASMedia. Gigabyte's claiming Intel twice as fast as ASMedia. We'll have to see about that. Certainly any USB 3.1 is fast, that's for absolutely certain. As to whether Intel actually has an advantage, that remains to be seen. But you are talking therefore a fine point of differentiation. Another trend that might be worth mentioning is SSD, which is quite clearly moving away from the 2.5-inch SATA connection, which hangs off the end of the chipset, and it's right down the end of your communication within your motherboard and your PC. PCI Express is clearly the way forward, and NVMe no doubt will be what people will move to as soon as they can. But the point is, you want to move up the chain so your storage is connected directly to your processor. Obviously, most processors these days contain your PCI Express controller. Sometimes it's split of some lanes from here and some lanes from there. But broadly speaking, instead of having your storage hanging right down the end of your system, move it up the food chain and feed data to your processor. So that is clearly a trend that is coming. So that's the thing. There were all sorts of things on at Computex, and the curious thing is that the message that was reinforced again and again for me was in Computex was next version of USB and Type-C connector, which, I mean, Doesn't exactly sound exciting, but it's the sort of thing we use all the time. Out on the street, it was 6-inch phones, and when I was looking at the various Europeans walking around Computex, they all seemed to have one of those little USB battery banks plugged into their phone. Battery life. All very dull stuff in that regard, but quite essential and quite day-to-day. It was also noticeable to me that I didn't see anybody displaying any monitors at Computex. Monitors, they tend to come under sort of visual rather than IT stuff, but we all use monitors. I expected to see 4K displays there front and center. I don't think I saw any. I mean, obviously hooked up to devices, but not on sale. So there we go. Lots of things. We've done lots of news, saw lots of products, but the thing I'm waiting for in a couple of weeks' time is AMD Fiji. And I hope to goodness it's a game changer, but my concern is that even if it is, the rest of the AMD graphics product stack, I think it's going to suck big time. I hope to goodness I'm wrong, but that's my concern. So there we have it. This is Leo Waldock for Kit Guru.